and we have Al Zimmerman here too. But Paula has been involved in the hobby of automobiles since her husband and she met back in 1968. They've restored many cars and also raced cars at many tracks in the Maryland area. As far as involvement in the clubs, she's been an officer with the Baltimore Best Classic Chevy Club, and she's had the offices of Secretary, Vice President, President. She's also been in the position of Director at Large for the Early Ford V8 Club. She's currently the President of the Chesapeake Region Antique Automobile Club of America, and she's held this position for the past 7 years. Welcome to our club. Once you get a position, you keep that position. In addition, she was elected to the National Organization of the Antique Automobile Club of America as the director. The organization is based out of Hershey, Pennsylvania, and she serves as the first vice president of the Eastern Division, which covers the whole East Coast. She served the National Club for the past 3 years. So I'd say she knows something about the topic she's going to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula, and please enjoy your evening.
Thank you. As Kathy said, I've been in cars for a long, long time. My husband and I will be married 52 years in December, so it just seems like a lifetime since we've been doing this. I'd like to recognize my co-partner here, Al Zimmerman, who's going to be doing the video. We apologize for not getting in on time this evening, but we had a little bit of connection problem.
We still do.
Okay, and we still might. I have some of my members here from the Chesapeake region. My husband, Gary Ruby, Chip Miller, Mike Natale, where is everybody? Larry Butcher, Tom and Judy Dawson, Nancy Zimmerman, Michelle. So I think I covered everybody. Did I miss anybody? No. I thank you guys for coming out tonight. We did bring some cars. I don't know who this lovely green 30-something cars is. What kind of car do you have?
It's a Model A, 1930. I'm representing the Greater Baltimore Model A.
Oh, very good. Glad to have you.
I live in the neighborhood.
Yeah. The people here from Chesapeake Region, we have a lot of cars. A mixture, a little bit of everything. Al has some really beautiful cars. Larry's had quite a few beautiful cars. One of them on the screen right now. That's Larry's old car. So sometimes we don't bring them out in the evening, or if the weather is questionable, because it takes too long to clean them up afterwards. But please take time before the end of the evening and go out and visit the ones out here. We have a 62 Pontiac Grand Prix, which is first year Grand Prix. We have a Corvair. Mike, what year's your Corvair?
65.
65 Corvair. Tom and Judy just brought their Mustang here. 84 Mustang. So we have a couple out here this evening. So I'm going to get started. Al's going to kind of let this screen run.
I have to do it manually.
You're going to do it manually? Okay. So as you can see, the car up here belongs to Larry Butcher, or it did belong to Larry Butcher. He sold it. It's a Zephyr. This particular car belongs to one of our members, Ken Stally Stevenson. This particular car at one time was yellow and was in the movie Mad, Mad, Mad World. It actually took the dink in the lake. So that's that particular car.
Also, Baby the Rain Must Fall.
Oh yeah, Baby the Rain Must Fall was also in that movie.
Crash,
Yeah. There's a really neat story behind this car. The gentleman that owned it, him and the gentleman that owns it now, Ken Stevenson, were very close friends. Where you saw one, you saw the other. They were always in the car with the top down. If it was snowing, the top was still down. So the gentleman that owned the car passed away. And his family decided to sell the car, but they sold it to another individual. So Ken Stevenson had been wanting this car for years, and the gentleman that bought it approached him when he was ready to sell it and said, I know you want this car, and he got it. So it was inevitable that Ken was supposed to get this car from John. So we're so glad that he does have it. It's a 47 Ford V8. It's a beautiful car. I don't think I've ever seen it with the top up. That's Al's car. That's a 34 Ford. I lost your car. There you go. That is actually in Auburn, Indiana. Our group has gone to Auburn on many occasions to visit the many museums that are in Auburn. There are fantastic car museums in Auburn. But every Saturday evening, they do what they call a cruise-in the square in Auburn. And that's where Al was with this particular car. So him and Nancy are in there. I can see Nancy's head on the other side. It's a beautiful car. I asked Al to bring it tonight, and he was like, no, can't do that.
The headlights aren't bright enough.
Yeah, that's one bad thing about cars in the 30s. If you haven't had them converted to halogens, which doesn't make the car completely original anymore, then you can barely see out of them. I mean, Nancy could probably run by the side of the car, put out a flashlight, and give Al some light to get the car home.
And the taillights are that big around.
Yeah, they're very tiny, very tiny. You can see some of the other cars in the background. There's a Woody wagon over there, which have become very popular, very expensive cars.
That was a Ford Beat.
It was the Ford Meet that you were out there for, okay. Woody wagons right now probably carry a price tag of anywhere between, I'm just going to guesstimate, 60 and 80,000 and up, depending on the workmanship and the year.
Up to about $1.50.
Yeah, if you're talking some of them over 6 figures. So they're beautiful cars though. Oh, who's that? Who's this at?
House.
Oh, that is you. I forgot you had that. Tell them about your car, Al.
That's a 35 Ford pickup. And that's completely original. And it's restored to showroom condition.
Yeah, if you didn't hear Al, 35 Ford pickup. And it's completely original. Another beautiful car that Al owns.
And that has one horn and one taillight.
Yeah.
No rear bumpers, and that's the way they came.
Wow. Yeah, you can see in the back, there's no bumper on it at all.
And that's the last year of wire wheels.
Yeah. Besides the people here this evening belonging to Chesapeake Region and the National Club in Hershey, we all belong to the Early Ford V8 Club. So you'll probably see a lot of Fords in the slides here because this was a Ford meet in Auburn. Now this gentleman, this guy, this is Cecil Poland. He is from West Virginia. And him and his wife, Kay, have traveled with this car all over the United States. All 50 states this car has been to, driven. It doesn't look like much because you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's this rusty look. But in the Ford classifications for showing a vehicle, they have a class that's called Rouge. Similar to like what you put on your cheeks, ladies. But it's a Rouge class. And a Rouge class is not pretty cars.
Totally unrestored.
Yeah, totally unrestored vehicles. And that's what Cecil's car is. But he will get in this thing and run to Auburn, Indiana, and back and not blink an eye. He drives it constantly. He does have some other really nice vehicles that are painted, but it seems like we always see him in this one for some reason.
What kind of motor is in that car?
Original.
It's a flathead
V8.
V8. Yeah, flathead V8.
239.
So a flathead is basically the heads on a car that you see it when you look under the hood on a flathead model, or completely flat where the plugs come out. So that's what, when you pull the hood on that, that's what you would see.
This is kind of clumsy, I gotta get back to it.
Okay. Well, while Al's getting us up with another set of slides here, I'm sorry,
Where you were at the,
That's the old version.
this one here. This is Chip and Michelle's car. Chip, why don't you come up here and tell us about the car? Because I don't know the true history of it. Yeah, that's Al's pickup next to it, but you can actually see Nancy in it now. This is Chip Miller.
It's a 1909 Stevens Duryea, and it's one of the first cars built through two brothers, and they split up. And one brother went with the Stevens Company, which had a machine shop in Massachusetts, and they got together and started building that car. That's a Model X. So it's one of the earliest cars out there. It's been redone.
Put them on close.
Pardon?
Can't hear you back here.
Sorry. So it's a 1909 Stevens Duryea, and it's been completely redone, but it's a really good running car. It was complete. All the parts were with it. We were lucky. The lamps, everything's marked with that number, so it's all like it was. We put the windshield on it because it was just kind of rough to drive without a windshield. But other than that, it's a really good running car. Since the late 50s, my dad started to redo it, and the fella had really butchered the body up, so it had to all come apart, and he started from the frame and redid it all and stuff.
When Chip was talking about doing a restoration, there's different ways of restoring vehicles. Most of the people that I know that have these gorgeous cars do what's called a frame-off restoration. So the body of the car completely comes off, is put in another building or beside the frame, and you start from the frame up. There are some people that don't choose to take the body off the frame, and they do a frame-on restoration, which does save some money in the long run. But if you want a car of show quality, which the ones that you're looking at are, that's what you have to do. You got to take that body off the frame in order to restore it. When you get into a car like Chip and Michelle's, a lot of times you can't find the parts for that particular car. So everything has to be made. You have to find machine shops that will make the components to put back to that vehicle the way it was. The Antique Automobile Club in Gettysburg, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, has a resource library. And right now we are classified as the largest automobile resource library in the nation. We just acquired the whole automotive history portion of the library, the Philadelphia Library. So we now have all that information, so you, as a member, can go there and do research on a particular car that you might be working on to find out what you're missing, or is this correct for that year or that model. So it's a very interesting place to go.
Larry, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Larry, you want to talk about your Zephyr?
Yeah, I'm Larry Butcher, and this is my 38 Lincoln Zephyr I had till about 2 years ago, and it was sold and sent out to Whittier, California. I had it 46 years, total restoration. This was not a frame off because the body was welded to the frame. That's how the factory did it. And this was an Edsel Ford, not Henry. Edsel. And yes, his son, he was behind the Zephyr. It's a V12 flathead, which means the flathead, you open the hood, there's 6 plugs on the side, flat plate. When I sold the car, I did a complete restoration on it, and like I said, it was 46 years. I tell people, it's not quite true, but I'll tell this anyway. My father said, Larry, you want a Schwinn bike or a Zephyr? I said, Dad, I'll have the Zephyr. That's a lie, I made that up. Right, and 46 years, you know, I was just a kid, what do I know? So, complete restoration, no back seat. This is the second expensive car in 1938 from the Zephyr line. Two couples couldn't go out in this car. Here you bought it, and that's the highest up was the flagship four-door convertible. When I sold the car, it was one of 9. I'm a member of the Lincoln Zephyr Owners Club, and through all the registries, and as far as we know, this was just 9 of them left, and it went out to California. It was a lot of fun. It was time to move on. I took it to a lot of shows around. I took it to the farthest Uniontown, Pennsylvania. No heater, no defroster, and no radio. That's how it was built. I restored it that way. And these cars, they raced. The way the engine was designed, it was screaming all the time. You're hunting for 4th gear. There is no 4th gear. And any faster than 55, it would probably blow up. That's all they would do in those days. Because they had an accessory, it was very expensive, called a Columbia rear end. It's a 2-speed rear, and they really make them. You can go around the Beltway at 75. It's like a 4th gear, but very pricey. I passed on that. So that's the synopsis of the car, and I tried to restore it as close as it was done. Bought it from a little old lady up off of Bel Air Road in Rapsburg, which is out Bel Air Road. Not too far from the Beltway. Her son bought it in 41. He went to Europe, he never came back. He was buried there. She brought it out in 46, put tags back on it. She couldn't handle the brakes. There's mechanical brakes in this car. Cable brakes, but they were good. She was a little old lady that was tall. She couldn't handle the brakes, and she smacked the front end up, and she put it in the barn. And I had the tags, 1955. She took it off the road. And the garage was like from here to the far cottage up here. No one knew it was there. But I heard about it from a mechanic who worked on it. And I'll tell this one thing, and I'll give the mic away. The guy a mic, and get it away from him. I'm on a roll. Yeah. So Pete Kontorski worked on this car, and he said, oh, here comes Miss Summers. Saturday, I want to get out of here. He raced cars. He was a stock car racer. I got to get out of here and close the shop. Pete, can you adjust the brakes for me? Can you adjust it? Always constantly adjusting the brakes. And she could just about see over the windshield of this car. But there it was back in that, and I have pictures as soon as you open the garage doors, shed doors, where this car sat since 55. So that's it. Somebody else have it.
Very good, thanks, Larry. Larry always has a good story behind his cars. We enjoy it. So, I was working on this. I'm going to go ahead and tell you some things that I have here. Okay. First automobile ever made by Carl Benz, who finished his creation in 1885 and named it the Benz Patent Motor Wagon. The Benz Patent Motor Wagon was designed to come up with its own power. That is why Carl Benz was granted his patent, and he thought to be discovered of a primary automobile ever created. So he never registered the patent. He wanted it to be able to give that information to other manufacturers who were just starting in the automotive world, and it was probably a big mistake on his part not to record that patent in his name. 30 American manufacturers produced 2,500 motor vehicles in 1899, and some 485 companies entered the business that next decade. There are many, many vehicles that I personally have never seen. I've heard of names, but they were manufactured by companies that might have only made maybe 5 vehicles, and they just couldn't make it. They had the vehicles, didn't know what to do with them at that point, and when the big 3 came into play, they just went under. Do you all know who the big three is? Ford, Chrysler, and Chevrolet. Or GM, I should say. Yep, that was the big three. Ford Motor Company greatly outpaced its competitors with a moderate price vehicle. At a cost of $600, the Ford Model N was produced from 1906 to 1907. Ford installed production equipment, and after 1906 was able to produce 100 cars a day. The Ford Model T was offered in October 1908 at a cost of $825. Try to buy one today for that. Ford wanted to mass produce vehicles, so in 1913 and 1914, he introduced the moving assembly line. And he got the idea of this assembly line from Milton Hershey. Milton Hershey at that point was producing Hershey Kisses. And he had an assembly line that was massive. And he was just constantly developing his product into being more and more. And Ford heard about it and said, I can do that with the cars. So with the introduction of the assembly line, it reduced the cost of the Model T to only $290 in 1927. Yeah. So you can, if you found a Model T today that was restored, you couldn't touch it for that. Initially, the Model T took 12 hours to assemble. This was before the assembly line. With the help of the assembly line, this amount of time was cut to 8 minutes for each car in 1913. And then finally, in 1927, during the last years of the Model T, production assembly was cut to assemble a car in just 14 seconds. So in 14 seconds, he was greatly producing mega cars. If you ever watch the History Channel and you get on the series about Ford, you can see how this is all developed. That's a very interesting series to watch. They show from the beginning when he was trying to do these all by hand and he had the men there and stuff. He took very good care of his people that worked in the factories. He provided housing for them, food, hospitals. Yeah, he really took care of his people. But he knew that he needed to speed up production in order to withstand the other people that were coming in behind him. The first automobile to be mass produced in the United States was the 1901 Curve Dash automobile. Excuse me, Oldsmobile. What did I say? Automobile. Built by the American car manufacturer Random L. Olds. That was his name. Olds invented the basic concept of the assembly line and started the Detroit area assembly industry. This is a very interesting point. Ford was quite an inventor. He didn't think that there wasn't anything that he could not do. So in 1941, he made a car out of soybeans. Yeah. The car weighed 2,000 pounds and had a tubular steel frame and 14 plastic panels attached to it. It is said that animals love to eat the car. So it didn't do anything, but he thought he could do this with soybeans, which if you look in the fields of Carroll County, we should all be pulling soybeans and making our own cars.
Oh,
Yeah.
remember the story about the floorboards and Model A's?
No. Are you ready? No. Okay.
When he was building the Model A's, he was so thrifty, we'll call it, that if you were selling him parts for his assembly line, part of the specifications was the boxes that the parts were shipped in. And like if you're selling gears for rear ends and transmissions, he would tell you the size of the box. So when he got them, he could break the boxes apart, and that's what was used in floorboards of the early Fords.
Yeah. He didn't leave anything to chance. If he thought he could build a car out of it, he would try it. Yes, sir.
By the same token, when the pickup truck got its name, it used to be in the truck page, you came and got it in a box.
Yeah.
Wooden box, and you picked it up. And that's
Right.
They known as a pickup truck.
Yeah. Well, Sears Roebuck used to sell a car in their catalog. We know a gentleman in our region that put one together. And yeah, it all came in a box. So,
Now, is that the Allstate or is that a different one?
I'm sorry.
That's early.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the earlier one. Okay. Kathy explained to you that I'm involved in many different organizations, and so are my counterparts here. The one that I am involved with greatly right now is the Antique Automobile Club in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Okay, this club was founded in 1939 in Philadelphia. Our headquarters is housed in Hershey. Oh, thank you. We also have the largest automotive library that I talked to you about, and we just acquired that library collection from Philadelphia. Membership is available to join, even if you don't have an antique car. A lot of people think they have to have a car in order to be a member of the National Club. You do not. I brought with me this evening for you all to help yourself to. This is the national magazine that's produced bi-monthly through AACA. That's the acronym for Antique Automobile Club. So please help yourself to these. Great magazine. It's put out, like I said, bi-monthly. There's a lot of great articles in it. In the back, some of these are a little older, from 2017, but these people probably still have these cars for sale. So if you're interested in something, please take a note of it. In this basket also, for you to take this evening, these are with COVID going on and everybody's washing their hands all the time. These are hand sanitizers. Ladies, keep them in your purse, keep them in your car when you go to get gas. Get done getting your gas, you can squirt them and wash your hands off. There's also some whistles in here. So if you're out walking, you do some jogging and stuff, put it on your keychain or on your belt or whatever. If you're out and about, there's something there for you to take. So please help yourself. The other club that I am president of at the present time, and have been for 7 years, is the Chesapeake Region. Chesapeake Region was established in 1955 in Baltimore by 3 gentlemen who were into racing cars. If they knew today that this club was going to evolve from 3 men that were into racing, they would have thought, oh, we don't know about that. We have over 400 members in our region. So that's a great representation of our region. We do a lot of things in the Baltimore metropolitan area. Some of the activities that we do every year, we'll start out the end of this year doing the Mayor's Christmas Parade in Baltimore. We go to the Fire Museum on York Road. We just did a show there. Yeah, we're doing a big show in Manchester, September 25th. It's a flea market and show going on there. So if you're not busy that day, please come out. It's at the Manchester Fire Company's Carnival Ground.
And they're feeding us.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're providing the food for us. They're doing roast beef and pit beef, pit ham, pit turkey. So we do it in conjunction with them to help them out and benefit their fire company and organization, and they help us out by letting us use the space. just jumping back here a little bit, in 1914, the first electric traffic signal was put into place on East 105th Street in Cleveland, Ohio. And they also developed the first painted dividing lines. Yeah.
Oh, do you know where the first one is?
In Baltimore?
I read it years ago.
No, I don't. The first traffic light in Baltimore.
Cold Spring Lane and Falls Road.
Cold Spring and Falls? Wow.
Are you sure about that? I'm pretty sure. Because the way I heard it was the first sound activated. You could pull up and blow your horn and
Oh.
you would hear it and
Change the light.
However, the problem was somebody nearby had cows. And when they moved, the lights changed.
Oh, wow, that could be a mess.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. Wow. Right at this time, there's an estimated 1.2 billion cars in the world today. By 2040, that projection is especially going to 2 billion. Yeah. 80% of your car is recyclable. You know that? I mean, we're like a disposable society now. So if you have one slight fender bender and your airbags go off, you might as well think on buying a new car. So that's what's going to happen. They just don't replace airbags in your steering column. Does anybody know what the most prominent color or most famous color of a car is?
Black.
Black?
White.
It's white. Yeah. According to an Australian study, white vehicles are 10% less likely to be involved in an accident. Yeah. And moreover, cars that have mainstream colors are prone to theft more than those that have less popular colors. And for ladies, men are more prone to have accidents than we are.
Henry's favorite color was black.
Pardon me?
Henry Ford's favorite color was black.
Henry Ford painted everything black. I think he got a run on black paint, or maybe he produced black paint, since he liked to get his
His
hands
saying was, you can have the Model T in any color you want as long as it's black.
in. Yeah, that was his saying.
You know why it was black?
No, Tom.
It was the quickest drying paint for the assembly.
Oh, well, that makes sense. If he was producing cars in, what did we say, 14 seconds, 12 seconds?
How is that possible?
Well, if you watch the History Channel and you watch that series, you can see how that's put together.
The sub-assemblies had to take time to put together.
Well, the motors were done.
Yeah, the motors were done.
Transmissions were done. When everything, all the components were done.
Yeah.
We assembled that net.
Yeah.
As they came down the assembly line, the bodies were overhead that we had on there. And the chassis would come, the guys would put the rear, they'd put the front axle, the motor would come down, they'd set it in, it'd be like 4 guys putting a couple bolts, they come apart quick. And then at the end of the assembly line, the body would drop on, the guy would pour some gas, they'd fire them and drive them out. And it was quick.
And
They
you
had
could,
no
you
one
could have
challenge.
multiple lines running
Yeah.
and time them
Oh,
such that
sure.
the average is 14.
Yeah, because you probably had a line with the drivetrain and the motor and the rear end, and then that slipped over for the body, just like car assemblies are today. Yes, sir.
I used to work on the General Motors assembly line.
Mhm.
We turned out a car a minute, but it took that car about 3 days to go through the plant.
Go through the whole
And get
thing.
all the parts full, but there was a car every minute. So
Yeah.
we made a car a minute.
Yeah.
And that's probably how this went, averaged out to 14 seconds.
I know some of the people from my region have had Corvettes. I don't know, has anybody else here ever had a Corvette? No? Okay. Well, we've done the tour at the Corvette plant.
Bowling Green.
Yeah, in Bowling Green, and they say, people that have Corvettes always say, my car has never seen rain. Never. Never sees water, never sees rain. If it rains, I mean, if they were here this evening and they saw a cloud, they'd be out of here. They don't want to get the cars wet. But I got news for them. If you do the tour of the Corvette plant, at the very end of the assembly line, when that car gets started and gets pulled off, it goes into what's called a water bath. And it just gets deluged for hours. And the reason that they do that is because Corvettes are prone to leak. So they want to check them real good before they pull them off the line and send them out. But people that have Corvettes are very anal about them.
We were shocked how much water
Yeah.
we dumped on them Corvettes.
Yeah.
I mean, shocked.
Think of your worst possible storm and add about 10% to it.
It looked like a big car wash. And
Yeah,
water
it was a car wash, that's
every-
for sure.
Every direction.
Yeah. 3-point seat belts. We all have seat belts in our cars now. Save one life every 6 seconds. Seat belts were invented by Volvo and were not patented, so the invention could be used for safety purposes for another car manufacturer. So Volvo was another one that didn't patent the seat belt and probably should have, and he just passed it on to other car manufacturers so that everybody could get the benefit of it. Now we're all looking into the self-driving cars, the electric cars, possibly, yeah, it was right. Not looking into gasoline-powered cars. I don't see how that's ever going to work. I mean, for the people like us that have old cars and people that tend to keep their cars, Ernest, smack him, please. Thank you. That's my husband.
Electric cars were started in the early 1800s.
Yeah, 1800s is when they were started. But yeah, I'm sure that, you know, we're all worried in our positions as being in the car hobby that gasoline is going to like disappear, and I don't ever foresee that happening. There's too many vehicles out there that still are going to rely on gasoline. More and more cars are going to electric. Some of them not so good. Mike, you have an electric car.
Well, I have two of them, as a matter of fact.
Okay, you have a Bolt.
A Chevy Bolt, yeah.
A Bolt, there's a Bolt, B-O-L-T, and there's a Bolt, V-O-L-T. And Mike has a Bolt. Do you like the Bolt?
I bought one of the first ones in late 2010. Yeah, I really do like the smooth, quiet ride.
So your car's a 2010.
And it's a 2019 as well. I bought another one when I heard that they were coming.
Gotcha.
It's electric for, tens of miles and then a gasoline engine.
Yeah.
But I don't use gas except for
If you're ever on the road and you're stopped at like an intersection at a traffic light, sometimes you'll see a newer car pull up beside you and it'll shut off.
Yeah.
Okay? And the light changes and you'll hear it actually start. That, in my mind, I'm thinking, that's a lot of wear and tear. That thing stopping and starting, stopping and starting. So I don't know where that's going, but they keep putting out these posts in all different locations now, shopping centers, parks, just about everywhere where you can plug in your car, and sit there for an hour or so and get an extra 50 miles. But that, to me, that gets old after a while. If I fill the tank up, I want to at least be able to go about 400 miles before I have to stop. Denmark is one of the most expensive countries in which to buy a car. As far as tax on a car, we all pay the state of Maryland taxes. They collect 150% of the cost of the car in tax. Yeah. According to the source, the country is recently looking into maybe cutting it to just 100%. So, but at the time of purchase. Yeah, so add, tack on another 150% on top of that car purchase, and that's what you're going to be paying. Yeah. Yeah. Now we've kind of hit it on the car from top, and now we're at the bottom of it. We all have tires on our vehicles. Okay? The rubber used in tires of a car is vulcanized. Vulcanization is a process for converting natural rubber or related polymers into durable materials by heating them with sulfur or other equivalent accelerators. Charles Goodyear invented this process, the vulcanization of the rubber. So that's where we get our rubber tires from. About a quarter of the world's cars are American, have been made in America. One of the rarest cars out there is a Rolls-Royce HP-15. It's one of the rarest cars on the planet. And the reason being is only a total of 6 of these cars were ever made. They're still available in the world, and it's estimated to be worth, if you can find one, $35 million. Car has 3 cylinders and a top speed, now get this, of 39 miles an hour. So if you only want to go 39 miles an hour and you want to pay $35 million for the car, that's yours.
When was it built?
Pardon me?
When was it built?
The car was actually built,
They were early.
yeah, like in the late 1890s, 1895, right in there. In 1940, the first 4-wheel drive car for the U.S. military was produced. It was called the Jeep. You got it. And while we're on the topic of Jeeps, the Antique Automobile Club in Hershey is raffling off a Jeep Commando, a convertible. It's a cute little car. It's a cute little beachy car. 1973. Yeah, 73. So if you are interested in purchasing a raffle ticket for a Jeep Commando that you can win, or $5,000 in cash, see me after the presentation, because I'm in charge of that raffle.
I have pictures on my phone.
Yeah. Airbags were introduced as safety measures in 1974. And did you know approximately how much copper wiring is in a vehicle? Anybody know?
10 miles, that's a guess.
10 miles? No. Poundage. Pound of what? Yeah, weight. 55 pounds. 55 pounds of copper wire. An electric car can have 3 times that amount of copper wire in them. So Mike, your car's got a lot of copper wire in it.
Motors are mostly water.
Yeah, exactly. You know how when you buy a new car, you go to the dealer, you get in it, everybody says, oh, it has that new car smell. You know, everybody loves that new car smell, especially if you've been driving a car for about 15 years and you've had 6 kids or whatever. It doesn't smell very good anymore. But the new car smell that you are smelling is actually toxic. It's a toxic chemical in the vehicle. So they are working on to get that smell out of cars. I don't know what they're going to put in it, but everybody likes that new car smell, especially the first couple months you have it. So that is basically what I have this evening. Does anybody have any questions for me or anybody from my group? Mary?
Could you explain to the folks what an antique car is by Marilyn Wall and an antique car in the AACA?
An antique car in the Antique Automobile Association has to be at least 25 years old. And if your car is 25 years old, which we are now in the 90s to show a car, you can certainly do that. The AACA has a whole gamut of shows and meets and tours that they do. And they are judge shows, points equivalent to what your car looks like and what it has on it. So you can show a car in 3 different categories with the Antique Automobile Club. One being a point judging, that they actually go to each car that's in that division and have a sheet and look at it as far as what it does have and what's wrong with it or what it's missing. Like Al was saying earlier, he had to, find certain things for his car when he was doing it in order to make it perfect. There also are 2 other judging classes that the Antique Automobile Club does. One is it's called HPOF, which means Historical Preservation of Original Features. That is a car that you show it as it is, doesn't have to be restored, but it's a car that came off the assembly line looking the way it does right there on the show field.
Never painted?
Never painted. I mean, if you have it painted, now you're in a different class. The last class that the Antique Automobile Club shows is called DPC, which is driver participation. And this is for people that have cars that they love, but they want to drive them and enjoy them. Points cars normally come out of a trailer. Right? They get to the show in a trailer, they come out of the trailer, they go on the show floor, they come back, they get back in the trailer to take them home. A DPC car, driver participation car, those people have drove them long distances. Some of them have driven, we've done drives from here to Auburn, Indiana in a car. So, yeah. So we've shown our cars a lot, and we do have some that have been what's classified as a trailer queen, and that's the ones that go in the box or on the trailer. But we enjoy driving our cars. Some of them you have to really be careful because you have your car out on the road, people driving along normally will see it coming. And immediately they're like, oh my gosh, there's a 34 Ford coming up on the left, and they forget that they're driving. So now their tendency is to look, and as they're looking, they're moving. So we've been in situations, we had a 31 Chevy that we showed and took all over the world. We put 48,000 miles on it showing it. And we had that same instance happen to us where we'd be on the interstate and somebody would see the car coming and be like, and I'd be yelling, get over, he's gonna run into us. So people just get excited.
And we were telling 36 Mullins, real steel trailer. I had a guy hanging out the window trying to take pictures.
While he was driving. He was driving.
Ran into him.
Yeah, he was driving. Are there any other questions? Have people in here, I guess I'm going to address this to the gentleman, what kind of cars did you have in your lifetime? Sir, what kind of car did you have when you were a young boy?
Well, my first car I actually got in the car was a 68 Dodge Dart.
68 Dodge.
The story of my car, his name is Gabriel.
Why don't you come up here so they can hear you?
Pardon me, I was in the Clinton pool.
My name is Gary Goldman. I live in Glendon, and that's my car. It's a 1930 Model A Ford. These two people here are very familiar. They did a nice presentation at the building the Steinways. And Steinway has a Model A, so of course our club was very interested in seeing the Steinways. But anyway, going back to the story, when I was a kid, I grew up in Baltimore. My late father, was a physician, and he made house calls all over Baltimore City. used to take me with him. And he got me this little book. It's called Little Car That Wanted a Garage. I could never remember that name, and I wanted to get that book. Library of Congress, I found it. And that's the name of the book, is A Little Car That Wanted a Garage. I got a copy of it. The story in brief goes, there was this little old, and it was a Model A, and he was in a lot being sold, and just crying because nobody would buy him. Dan would come looking up, too much noise. And finally, at the end, a little fellow and his father come along, and they see this car, and it's just what we want. And they take Gabriel home, and they fix his fenders and rebuild them and everything, and Gabriel was very happy. Well, when I was a kid, and I always had that book read to me, and I'd see these cars, my father would make a house call, on the street somewhere in Baltimore. There's a Gabriel! There's a Gabriel! And I just always had a hankering for old cars. I wanted a Gabriel, exactly. Didn't know what it was. It was actually a Model A. So the story was, I decided, my wife walked out on me after 20 years of marriage and said, I'm getting a car. That's it. So, the cars don't, so a cousin of mine, two of us went in 50-50 and started looking for cars. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew nothing about it. And I found something on the internet of a little shop that sells old used cars. So I thought, well, trip to Pennsylvania, Milford, Pennsylvania, how far can that be? I found out it's on the boundary of New York. Got there 4 hours later with my cousin, and we're looking at cars. And so this guy had a little show with me. He had first car I saw was a 1924 Dodge. And I was quite interested in that. It had the Star of David on its front, on the foot ornament. Always wondered what that was, and I did find out the story to that. Turns out that Dodge brothers were not Jewish, but there was a lender who apparently put up the money and said to him, as long as the loan is still good and you make the car, I want the Star of David displayed on your car. Well, so it was very interesting. I was all ready to buy it. Thank God the guy was really very nice and honest. He said, you know, it's a nice car, but you'll never find parts for it. I said, no, this is no good. I've got to have something I can get parts. He said, well, then what you want is a Model A. Well, what's a Model A? I didn't know. Turn around, he has it all over there, and I'm looking and said, oh, a Gabriel. So he said, well, that one's sold already. I said, oh. He said, I'll tell you what, call me in about a month. I should have more coming in, and you'll come and see me. So we waited, and he called, and he said, I've got 3 cars here. I said, hold on to them, we'll be up there in 4 hours. So we get up there. The first one he rolls out is a 1937 Chevy. I was already to go for that. That really looked great. Well, he opens the doors, the suicide doors, they open out, and I look at the car, it looks like the rats had got, I mean, everything was gone, just all eaten up. I don't think I want that. It probably cost $5,000 just to restore the interior. He said, you're probably right. He said, okay, I got another one. That was a 2-door Ford. He said, that looks crazy. Yeah, well, it was just sold yesterday. Said, oh, come on. I got something in the barn. So we're out there waiting, and all of a sudden, this car comes rolling out, and I hear, ooga. That was it. That's it. And so what was history became a car, and good price, and he put it on a truck, and 4.5 hours later, about a week later, it was in my driveway. And that's when the fun began. So I joined the Model A Club of Greater Baltimore, and I have a lot of friends. I've had this car now for about 20 years. I've been in the club. In fact, we had a big meeting 2 Saturdays ago, but they have helped me with this car. It's had its engine rebuilt 3 times since I've had it. It will never rebuild it again because now we modified a little bit. They make the pistons with rings instead of babbits, which a lot of you know they have the lead babbits, and one of those pieces of lead drops in there and your engine locks up and that's it. That will never happen again to Gabriel. So that's it. But basically, I have a great time with it. I love telling the story. As you see, you must be aware of by now. And just enjoy driving it around, taking it out. I take it to shows wherever I can, and take kids for rides in it. And that's basically it. It's a lot of fun. Get a kick out of it.
Thank you. Thank you for the story. You need to join Chesapeake Region. No. See, see the guy back here in the white shirt? You need to talk to him. That's Tom, stand up. The gentleman I'm referring to is Tom Dawson, his lovely wife Judy. First off, congratulations on your anniversary tomorrow. You beat us by 4 months, so good for you. Tom is going to be next year's Chesapeake president. After 7 years, I am stepping down. So Tom has agreed to take on that job. Al is going to be our secretary for next year. Chip is our historian. My husband Gary is our technical advisor. Judy is our new lady that's going to be doing creative entertainment. Nancy does our refreshments, and Michelle is going to be monitoring behind Vicki Wilmer for our membership. So ladies, we are very active. It's not a good old boys club.
Tell them what we got coming up.
Yeah, we do a poker run every year, which is a lot of fun. We find different garage spaces that we can go and visit. People let us come into their property, and we are doing 3 this year. And then at the conclusion of the day, we have a catered dinner that we're doing with Mission Barbecue. It's going to be doing the food for us. So that's a fun day, and it's actually on Halloween this year. Yeah, it's like a scavenger hunt. Yeah, for the poker run. So everybody has a good time with that. Yeah, we just celebrated our 65th anniversary as a club. We're actually in our 66th year. And with COVID last year, we weren't able to do our big production that we were going to do. So we are doing it this year in September. We are doing a all-you-can-eat crab feast and a boat tour to Suicide Bridge Restaurant in Hurlock, Maryland. It is going to be a bus trip. The club is paying for the buses, and we have also picked up more than half of the cost for our members to do the crab feast. So that's our give back to them for being in the club and working their tails off for all our events. Tom?
Paul, I just want to mention, this lady here, in the last 7 years, has brought this club up to what the national club has labeled us a model breed. And I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I mean, we're 400 members. A lot of clubs are struggling to have 40 members. And it's all primarily because of this lady right here.
It's not just, I always say at the banquet every year, it's not just me, it's everybody. Everybody is hands-on. I could pick up the phone and, just like I picked up the phone and called Al and said, hey, I need your help with this, or, called Tom and said, I need your help with this.
What do you call? Who do you call?
Oh, I call all my club members peeps. They're my peeps. So if we go on an event somewhere, like the bus trip, when we get to Hurlock, they'll be like, okay, count the peeps. Or is everybody on the bus? If we leave anybody behind, you're walking from Eastern Shore. Just one quick thing. I know Kathy wants me to wrap up here.
I just don't want to lose time to see the cars.
Oh, okay.
The light is going quickly.
I just want to tell you one quick thing I just saw and didn't say it earlier. This is about speeding tickets. I know we've all had them. We don't like them, I got my first one when I was 16 years old, won the work. So there was a Swedish man in Switzerland who got pulled over for clocking 180 miles an hour. Okay? Probably in Switzerland, that's probably not that bad because you got the Autobahns and all that. They're used to going that fast. But the ticket cost him $538,000. Yeah. The speeding tickets in Switzerland are calculated based on the income of the offender. So he might have been a doctor. So keep that in mind the next time you get pulled over. Just tell them you're poor and, they maybe won't give you the ticket. So I thank you all for your time this evening. Please help yourself to the things up here, and please look at the cars before you leave. Thank you again, it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Paula and Al, for coming, and all the other members of the group. I don't want you to not be able to see the cars, and we're losing the light quickly. We do have some refreshments in the back, but we need to keep refreshments on the concrete floor, and we certainly don't want them in the cars. So, see the cars and then come back for refreshments. And this is just a little token to thank you for coming.
Thank you all.